Simon Taylor, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me on, Sam. Appreciate that.
Yeah, it's a pleasure. Pleasure to speak with you today. So let's get straight into it. What were you like as a child?
What a question. What was I like as a child? I would say very, very easily distracted. Very easily distracted. My report cards constantly says Simon is a bright kid, but he must concentrate harder. Now, back in the 80s, so I'm 38, was born in 86, back in the late 80s, early 90s, there wasn't such a thing as ADHD as we know it now. I was just a hyperactive kid that couldn't have E-numbers and stuff like that. So for me, I was very easily distracted in the schooling system. And I think being an entrepreneur now, it was just, you cannot place any child in a classroom and expect it to just fit and learn a certain way. And that's one thing that I've learned as an adult, that if I could just go back, if I could just put my arm around myself and just say, you know what, Si, you're in the wrong place, mate. Put you in a place that actually interests you and you'll flipping thrive, kid. So yeah, how was I as a kid? Brought up on a council estate, easily distracted in school. I would say I always struggled to fit in, to be honest. I never really knew what kind of clique I was in. Fit in with a lot of people, but never really knew who I truly was. And to be honest, becoming an entrepreneur like I have, I kind of found my fit now, and it feels really, really good. Because as I left school and tried to come out of that, trying to fit in the schooling system and the system in general, going into an employed role, I always thought, what the flipping heck is wrong with me? Why don't I fit in anyway? Why don't I enjoy things? Why do I get bored so easy? Fast forward, 15 years and then getting into running my own business and entrepreneurship, it kind of makes a lot of sense of how I was as a kid and how frustrating that was for me as a kid. So, yeah, that was me as a kid, mate.
Yeah, fantastic. So it seems like at the moment ADHD and attention seems to be a really, really hot topic, and the way that the school system is and teaching is, it hasn't changed for years like technology has. So what sort of stuff would you say, right, this is what a school needs to be? If you owned a school, what would your school be?
So I agree, and I do dislike labels, and I've only just started talking about ADHD recently because I've realised that it can actually be very, very helpful to talk about it, because when you have got ADHD, so I'm undiagnosed, but as a kid, the doctor said I had hyperactiveness and all this type of stuff, and I've read up about stuff, and I tick every single box. I've learned to manage it very, very well, because I don't believe that a label should define you. So you've got, just to kind of go off on one a little bit, you've got your personality, who you are, you've got your character, which is your principles and your core value system, and then you've got ADHD or autism or Asperger's. Elon Musk is Asperger's. You've got different types of neurodivergency in which your brain is wired. So I've got my personality, got my morals and my character, etc. And then you've got the way that your brain processes things and it's wired, which is neurodivergent. So a normal person, like my wife, for instance, she's neurotypical, and I'm neurodivergent, which means my brain, if my wife could go A to B, completely happy with that. She'd be happy with the 9 to 5. She's completely fine with that. Me, I'm A to C, but what about D? Why not E? Why don't we just go straight to G? Oh yeah, better go back to D, better go back to B, and all this kind of stuff. So my brain works differently, which is why, yeah, as an engineer, as I move on to in a bit, my brain works in a different kind of way, and I'm trying to figure out things. So what would I say with all that as a foundation would be good for the schooling system to improve on? I just think, don't place everybody in a classroom and expect them to learn the way, it's prehistoric, as it were. It's prehistoric. It's very old school. It's not changed since my grandma was a kid and she's 80 now compared to what it is now. It's changed little bits. Make things fun. Make things active. Get out on a field and talk about the nature. Say to an ADHD person or a person that's different, for instance, right, we've got a bucket there. We've got a tractor tyre there. We used to push around tractor tyres as a kid and stuff like that. It was pretty fun. They've got a bike there. Right, you've got to get the balls in that box. while hopping over this, and then, you could make a mathematical class out of that. I think you've got to be able to stimulate different people in terms of mentally than the norm, because we're not all normal. And I think what's happening at the moment is people are understanding that it's okay to admit what we deemed as weakness. So for me, it took me ages to just even admit that I might have a neurodivergent brain, because I try to excel in everything that I do, and I'm not in denial. Whereas now I think people are saying, you know what, I'm not seeing this as a weakness. Same thing, men cry a lot more now, etc. Back in my dad's day, and what he poured into me is, you don't cry, kid, you stiff upper lip and all that. It's okay to show weakness, it's okay to be vulnerable, it's okay to show your emotions, etc. And I think the same goes for things like ADHD. It's becoming more acceptable to bring what was against the norm before out in the open and go, you know what, this is me. Society, if you don't accept it, well, screw you anyway, I'm just going to be me. And I think people are a lot more accepting of who they are. And I think it can set a lot of people free in their mindsets, which is why I talk about it now, because I think, you know what, it's not a weakness. It can actually be a superpower if used and managed in the right way.
Yeah. So do you think that acknowledging and knowing that you are neurodivergent has allowed you to excel in what you do? Has it sort of propelled you forward, would you say?
Yes, because when I first started out in business and property, that's where I started. For me, I tried to do things. They say that you try and imitate people, and you try and imitate people that are doing well, etc. Well, when that goes wrong, and you find, because what a lot of people do these days, and we've all done it, and we all still do it, is we compare ourselves to people. Now, when you're trying to compare yourself to somebody who's wired in a certain way to you, you'll never keep up. You'll constantly feel like a failure. So for me, one of the traits of being ADHD, for instance, is you can become hyper-focused, which can be... So one of my mentors always taught me that sometimes our biggest strengths can be our biggest weaknesses. So you've got to watch out with this hyper-focus. So you can become fixated and hyper-focused and obsessive over a certain thing. Anything, it could be absolutely anything. You have to be careful what you do become hyperfixated and focused on and obsessed with. But with business, it's been a learning curve, if I'm honest, because yes, success is a funny word. So yes, you can become obsessed with business and obsessed with building your property portfolio and obsessed with crypto trading or whatever it may be. But then what about your family? Because what I found in the early days, I'd become so focused on business and property and building the empire. This is for us, babe. This is for us. My wife and family were getting neglected. So in my hyper focus, it was a gift. In business, I was actually not very successful in terms of family life, because I was just fully devoted to making this work and would not rest until I did get it to a certain stage. So yes, it can help in business. It can help in life, but define success. I mean, there's that famous saying, if you gain the whole world but lose your soul in the process of it, what have you actually gained? So for me, as we spoke about before, we've both got different views on Christmas, family time, and just that's why we all do it. I think we get up in the morning, family time is abundantly the most important thing, because when you're on your deathbed, that's all that really matters. Was he a good dad? Was he a good son? Was he a good brother? These are the questions that you'll be asking yourself, and hopefully the answer is yes on all of them. So yes, it has been helpful, but a hindrance at times in other areas that you've got to work on and manage.
Yeah, so you touched on sort of how you define success there. So before we get into the success and how you might define it, what has your working career been like? What was your first job, and then how did you then make the transition into entrepreneurship?
Amazing question. Great question, Sam. So I started, when I left school, my dad said to me, right, son, you're going to leave school, you're going to get yourself a modern apprenticeship, you're going to work your backside off until you're 65, and then you're going to retire on a nice pension. I said, all right, fantastic, Dad. You've got to be careful who your role models are, and you've got to be careful who you let speak into your life. Now, when you're listening to your dad, of course, you're going to hang on to his every word, but as you get older and wiser and you start to actually open your eyes and look around and get your own opinion on things and start to think for yourself, you think, I think you've conned me here, Dad, to be honest. I don't think this is the way. So left school, got into a 4-year modern apprenticeship in industrial and commercial refrigeration and aircon. So air conditioning, HVAC as it were. So it's a bit of a tongue twister. So basically, yeah, got into that, did a 4-year apprenticeship, spent 15 or so years doing that. And then in my late 20s, I actually got poorly, which made me transition from that. So worked my backside off, never really felt like, this is the thing that we talked about identity and knowing who you are and not comparing yourself to people. So my dad's telling me that this is the way to go. People at work are miserable. People that have been doing this job for years are moaning constantly about the bosses and the life and money and all that kind of stuff. And you just never really feel like you fit in this role. Now, it was always well paid, always nice company car. Thought you were smashing life at, 30, it used to be 30k when I was in my 20s. You thought if you was on 30 grand a year back in the day, you were killing it. Then it up to 40 grand, then it up to 45 grand. And I just thought, they're taking tax off me. I'm getting taxed from my company car. I'm getting taxed from my fuel card. I'm getting taxed to the eye heavens. I'm only coming out with a couple of grand. How's this going to work when, say, my wife has kids and stuff like that? She stops working, and you start to realise that the system's broken, really, and things aren't like they used to be. So I worked my way through it, and because I wasn't enjoying myself, or because it's a very demanding job, I was highly, highly stressed. I'm not really a stressed out person by nature. I like to think I'm pretty chilled, as focused and driven as I am. I like to think I'm quite laid back.
Yeah, well, since we've been chatting, you come across as tremendously laid back. So,
thank you. Yeah, well, that's the true me. But you'll know this. When you're not actually operating to your true self, and you are highly stressed and irritable and frustrated, you think something's wrong here. So I created this real stressed out mentality, and I was like it for probably 6 months to a year. And it ended. They say that they can't definitely say it's this, but if you create an environment internally in your body, i.e. stress that releases chemicals into your body, you create an environment in your body that breeds disease. So anyway, late 20s, just got married, 3 years into marriage, just bought a house, everything's going well on the outside, a white picket fence, everything's fantastic. And then boom, Simon, you've got cancer. And I'm thinking, hey, I'm late 20s. I've got my whole life ahead of me. Things are looking well. I'm doing everything right. And then boom, you got cancer in my late 20s. And I'm thinking, right, okay, well, wasn't expecting that bad boy. Neither were you by your face, by the looks of it.
no,
Crazy.
it's almost like you thought you're too young.
Yeah, only one in my family that didn't drink or smoke. So I'm thinking, oldest of 4, don't drink or smoke, never had a tattoo, all them kind of things, done everything my parents had told me. What is going on here? I believe it's because I created an environment. I believe, I learned this off Grant Cardone, to be honest, off the 10X rule. Take responsibility for absolutely everything in your life. And I think as men and women, but as men, I can only speak as a man because I'm not a woman. So as a man, you've got to take responsibility for everything that goes wrong and right in your life. And for me, I can wholeheartedly say, hand on heart, that I increased my chances of getting cancer by creating an environment internally and in my life that promoted disease, i.e. stress, maybe not eat. You don't eat or exercise well when you're stressed, you don't look after yourself. So I created an environment in my life that promoted and increased the chances of getting ill. And that's exactly what happened. So I'm on my hospital bed, Sam. I'm asking myself, what would you do differently, Si? The consultant's been at the end of my bed and he said, Simon, we will do our best to cure you. And I'm like, it's 2015, pal. What do you mean you're going to do the best that you can do for me? Don't you mean you're going to get me well? And he said, well, you're stage 4. You've got leukemia and lymphoma together. You've got tumours that are in your lymphatic system, in your neck, sitting on your heart. You've got lymph nodes, little lymph nodes, things that swell up the glands when you get ill and you've got a cold, but you've got them all over your body. That was a cancer in there, so they'd all swelled up. I'm like, well, all right, thanks, Doc, appreciate that. Do your best you can then, crack on. And I'm lying there, mate, in my late 20s, and I'm like, my word, what would you do differently, Si? If you leave this hospital bed, I didn't know the training, the treatment regime, I didn't know it. So I thought I was going to be in and out in a couple of months, get a bit of antibiotics down my neck, splash of chemo, and I'll be fine. 3 years, mate. 3 years of treatment. I'm like, well, that's a massive chunk of my life gone. That was tough. But I'm laid there when I first went in there. I'm thinking, right, I could die. Stage 4, they're going to do the best for me. How did you get here? What would you do differently? And the first thing is my job. The first thing is you've always wanted to run your own business. You've always wanted to do your own thing, steer your own ship, live your own life, live a life on your terms. You know the system's corrupt. You know, of course, we need doctors, firemen, policemen, nurses. You know, if anybody's listening that's saying, well, of course we need, yes, we do. But we also need entrepreneurs and business people, because I believe that entrepreneurs and business people add value to this world. We bring something, we solve a problem and bring a solution. And that's who I always knew I was. So fast forward, during my lots of countless days of getting chemo just pumped into me, we used to sit in chairs like this and just sit there for 8 hours a day getting stuff pumped into you to kill the cancer. Thank God I survived.
Good.
And we're here, alive and well, all in the past, fully recovered and fully fittest I've ever been.
Yeah. Congratulations. Yeah, it's not obviously an easy thing to go through, and
No.
you've certainly taught me stuff about the process. Didn't realise it was so arduous, as naive as that might sound.
Yeah, massive, mate. And I was naive because it's not something that it's what happened to other people, not us. We shouldn't get ill, you know. It's what happens to other people, because I've never had any previous illnesses or anything like that. I wasn't a poorly kid. And then boom. So I says, well, I'm either going to live or I'm going to die. I'm going to fight. So all throughout that whole, we could spend an whole 2 hours just on the process and the different lessons I learned from that. But how I got into business was I spent the whole 3 years studying property, studying trading, studying anything that you could do that if I ever got ill again, I could do from my hospital bed. And obviously property, you need to go out there, you need to graft. That was a little bit different. Trading, never really got big into trading, but understood the principles and kind of got studying there. And then it really kicked off for me later on. But yeah, so came out of the treatment and said to my wife, right, I want to do something flipping crazy, because I was working alongside the treatment, because I was an outpatient getting chemo every couple of weeks, and I was still working up a ladder with my spanners, cracking on. And then once it had all finished and I got the all clear, because you don't want to make any silly decisions, you don't want any instability when you're actually going through the process yourself. But after that, I said, right, we're doing it. She says, what do you mean? I said, I'm quitting my job. What I did was I remortgaged my house, released some equity, quit my job, and said, right, well, if this doesn't work, my wages are okay for a year, and then if this doesn't work, I'll just go back to being an engineer. So got into property, do what we all do when we get into property. Went to a Samuel Leeds crash course and all that type of stuff, and went to progressive stuff and listening to YouTube stuff. I mean, just binging on YouTube, reading books, trying everything. And I kind of got into property through deal sourcing. That's how I actually got out of my job. I went into deal sourcing. I always remember the first 2 deals I sold. I earned 3k for selling 2 rent-to-rent deals in Nottingham. I was like, this is revolutionary. I've just earned 3k. All I did was just go out, view the property, do the due diligence, package it up, which felt straightforward. And in a couple of days, I've earned £3,000. This is phenomenal. Then I got into rent-to-rent, started renting other people's houses and renting them out again. That was a new concept as well. I didn't really want to waste all this equity that I'd released from the house and put it into one house and BRRR it and then spend 6 months, then refinance it, do it the slow way. I wanted out of my job. And then, yeah, it kind of progressed from there. And obviously that rent to rent always forms into buying your own houses and doing them up as well. So it kind of went from there. Not on the scale that you are though, because I mean, you're a land developer and you're into the big boy stuff. I never quite got there before I got into it.
It's good fun. I do what you do as well. Sort of, yeah, buy to lets and refurbs and conversions, along with some new build stuff as well. It's good to have a spread, keep the risk down as low as possible, put
Totally.
many eggs in as many baskets as you can.
Yeah.
So with your health problems and your work, and then moving into property, how do you define wealth then? Because a lot of people say health before wealth, or people say that wealth is your relationships, your health, your financial So how would you describe being wealthy?
It's a fantastic question, that is. So we become highly successful through property and especially crypto trading. I made most of my wealth now by far through trading crypto and investing in crypto. So we're made for life. It's brilliant. It's such a great way. Property was great, and it is great. Like you just said, diversification is key. When one fails, you've got something to fall back on, and you've got to diversify for sure. But truly, I have lived through this. You can have all the money in the world, but if you're ill and you can't enjoy it, or you can't enjoy your family, it's pointless. Money cannot buy happiness. It can make things easier. It can make life better because you can go on more holidays and you can enjoy yourself. You don't have to work as hard at times, although being self-employed, at times I've worked harder than I ever worked in the 9 to 5. But it's for my kingdom, it's for my empire. It's a different feeling about it. But for sure, I define wealth as being able to spend time with my loved ones. And because you never know when your days are numbered. You never know when you might get hit by a bus. You never know when the doctor might look down at your bed and say, you've got a couple of weeks to live. I've seen it happen. I lost a lot of friends along the way because you make friends in hospital. And I'm thinking, you're 26 and you're a personal trainer. You know, I'm 29, 28, 29, and I'm an engineer. How are you dying and I'm still surviving? You know, and it's just nuts. So yes, having wealth financially is good. I mean, the Bible talks about it. You know, you're not supposed to. I don't love money. I love what money can do. And I think you touched on this just before this session. It's nice what it can do. It can give you a better life, especially in this day and age where everything's rocketing through inflation. But when all's said and done, if you lost everything right now because a business deal could go wrong, or a property could go wrong, or you lost it all in trading, or whatever happened, who's around you to then help you rebuild that? It's your family. And of course, your health, being healthy and having your family around you. You could lose everything tomorrow, because don't forget, money, business, properties, it's all material stuff. What really matters is the flesh and blood around you, the community around you, and more than that is your health. If you've got that, you can rebuild anything. So for me, true success and true wealth, and it's been proven to me, and I've had to learn the hard way and fight my way through it, is yes, you could become a multimillionaire, but I'd rather be rich in relationships and rich in health than rich in pound notes, because you can make money. And anybody, you said this perfectly at the beginning, you said anybody can become rich and successful if they put their mind to it and focus. But, you know, not everybody has got the fortunate, you know, not everybody's fortunate enough to be well and healthy with good people around them. So that's what I would say.
Yeah, very well said. I totally agree with that. And obviously your family are really close and mean a lot to you. What impact have they had on your progression through your career and your life?
Well, fundamentally, they're the foundations for everything. So it's me and my wife and my furry little dog, who's my son, called Chester. He's a toy poodle. They're my immediate kind of responsibilities, because my wife, I love her to bits. She's my everything. She's my best friend, my soulmate. She was the one that met a muscle man that went to the gym. You know, when you're a young lad and you're in your 20s and you're hitting the weights a bit, she met a giant and a mountain of a man, or so I would have said when I was in my 20s, although cancer humbled me a lot. And she took a bold, alien-looking, skinny cancer patient. She used to bath me, mate. She used to bath me, look after me. So I always said when I was going through that time, you know what? I'm going to create a life that allows you. I retired when she was 35, and that meant the world to me. She'll never have to, unless she wants to, work another day in her life. She's just got free range to do whatever she wants, and that's a thank you from me to her. So knowing that she looked after me that much means that I want to give her the earth. So it's like, how much has that driven me? That's driven me massively. Of course, I've got my family, my brothers, my sisters, my mum as well. Don't see my dad, if I'm honest. My dad's an alcoholic. He came, visited me twice while I was on my hospital bed many years ago, and then never returned. Never seen him since. So not that I fell out with him. He just left and probably couldn't cope emotionally, and he was already on the pop anyway, and just drank himself drank himself into not a very good place. So my mum, my family, and my grandma, and my brothers and sisters, they help, because in this pursuit of success and wealth, fundamentally, we're all just trying to make a better life for people that, are struggling with finance. You're able to step in and help people with their bills and that type of stuff, because, if you go down the supermarket, if you listen to people in Tesco's or whatever, everybody's moaning, everybody's panicking, everybody's anxious about how they're going to pay the bills, how they're going to get through Christmas, how they're going to buy all these presents. Everything's commercialised, and I think people have lost the heart of what everything's about. You could have a Sunday roast, a chicken, a turkey, a few taters and veg, and you've got a good family around you. I think you're winning at life. So how much have they contributed to my success? Everything. They're the pillar and the foundation of why I do what I do every single day.
Yeah, love it. Absolutely love it. And I hate the saying self-made, because you might have done it on your own. The business might be your own and you're the only director, but there's a whole support network, whether they're mentors you pay for, or your father, your mother, your brother, your wife. It's a journey that everybody in your circle comes on board with.
Yeah, massively. And you put it. Do you mentor yourself?
I'm thinking about it.
You should do. You've got a lot of years of experience behind you, and I think people will gain a lot from just being sat at your feet, listening to. You'd blow my mind with some of the projects you've been involved, no doubt. Some of the stuff you've been on, I've never even touched the vast amount. You should do. Honestly, you should. I think you've got a bit of a heart for it. But you're so right in what you say. Mentors, I've paid hundreds of thousands on mentors in business, entrepreneurship, property, little bit of crypto. There's not a lot of good people out there, to be honest, in the trading sphere. But property, I've spent a lot of money on different mentors and stuff. And you're right. I'm definitely not self-made. I'm leveraging off other people's knowledge. And, the wisest thing I've learned is a wise man learns from his mistakes, but an even wiser man learns from another man's mistakes. And I'm thinking, if I could pay somebody or be around somebody and sit at somebody's feet who could save me making hundreds of thousands of pounds of mistakes, I'm going to do that all day long. I understand the biggest investment, Sam, is in yourself, innit? And that's I'm sure you've paid lots of mentors and coaches over the years as well to get you to where you are.
Yeah, it's definitely worth investing in yourself, and the more knowledge you can have, the more skill you can get to implement what you learn and have that accountability. It's worth its weight in gold. It really is. And you mentioned about learning from other people's mistakes. If you don't mind, can you touch on some mistakes that you might have made in your business journey and how you then turned it around and learned from it, made it a success?
Yes. So I got into crypto mentoring because I had such a painful journey. So let's use crypto as an example. Talked about property a lot, but let's talk about my main passion, my baby, my focus, and my beloved crypto trading. I made an eye-watering loss. So I woke up one morning to a $48,000 loss, and that really hurt. That wasn't just
my. You won't do that too many times, will you?
No, and I traded for a long time. I'd made mistakes, but I got too egotistical. I thought I was the bee's knees. I thought I've cracked it. And then I woke up. Why I didn't use a stop loss, I don't know. But that was the turning point for me in my trading journey. And a year or two down the line, I then set up my training business because somebody said to me, Simon, the pain that you have been through to get to where you are in your trading journey now, because I don't know what it is, Sam. I only seem to learn through pain. You can't get my attention unless I'm in pain, which is a bad trait, really. I need to get better at that. But basically, yeah, she said, you can help so many people. So I set this thing up and I started inviting people on a Zoom to train them for free, because there's a lot of people that are interested in trading, which took a lot more of my time. Then I started a subscription, started helping people with that. And then it's turned into a fully fledged academy and mentorship now, where I teach people and take them from zero to knowing quite a lot about crypto. But what did it for me? Because I think that we only set up businesses for a reason, I think. And that the main reason for me when I did that was I had been through so much pain, and I didn't want other people. And I had mentors at the time that were possibly not leading me down the correct paths. But waking up to that really woke me up to, you need to pull your socks up. You need to treat crypto and trading as a business. Like, if you go and look at a property, Sam, you're going to be checking, see if it's got subsidence. You're going to be looking for cracks on roofs. You're going to be looking for where the sewer pipes run below the house. If you want to do an extension on it, you've got to check the drainage. You're doing your due diligence on that property. You're not just buying the property. And I think the thing is with trading, a lot of us have, and a lot of people do, they just chuck money into a coin or chuck money into an investment and just hope for the best. But like property, crypto trading and investing is a business. We risk assess every decision that we make. People say it's like gambling. It's not, if you know what you're doing and you know how to do the correct technical analysis. Technical analysis is a long word and a confusing word, and people are like, what does that mean? It means the same thing as due diligence on a property. You deal source, I've done deal sourcing. Deal sourcing is doing all the due diligence before you pull the trigger on the deal and then you sell it to an investor. It's the same before you pull the trigger on a trade. You've got to do your full due diligence on that trade, your technical analysis before you pull the trigger. It's always got to be a high conviction, high probability trade before you make that decision. So I treat it like a business. So one of the biggest lessons for me that I wish I wouldn't have had to experience was treating trading like a business and risk assessing every decision that you make. I've done it with property. Another example, just before lockdown, I loaded up on 5 SA units, 90 grand down the drain. Reason why it was 90 grand, we kitted all the properties out, rent to rent, kitted all the properties out of furniture, decorated them, etc. Had to pay some of the landlord's rent up front and deposits and stuff like that. It worked out something like 90 grand down the pan. We got these in the February before the March a month later, and they locked everybody down. So basically no one was stopping in them essays. That was another mistake I made. I made some costly mistakes, and that's why we say that if you get a mentor, they can stop you from, well, if they're a good mentor anyway, they can stop you from making costly mistakes. Because if I look at all the money I've wasted on trying to be too clever and trying to be too ambitious too soon, it's like baby steps all the way. Slow and steady will always win the race, Sam. And you'll know this because you've done massive deals, haven't you? £1 million deals, I'm sure. Your land development.
It's definitely worth taking it slow. And I hate cliches, but I'm starting to use them more and more. But walk before you can run.
Yeah.
It really is the right thing to do. And you touched on the technical analysis. Why do people not do it? What's their mindset behind? Do they just see something rocketing up and go, oh my God, I've got to plough all my money into this? Or are they not educated? What's the reason?
Let me just say this before we go on. Your questions are flipping superb. They really get to the heart of things. I love that question. So have you ever traded or invested in crypto or trading or Forex or anything?
I've got Bitcoin and I've got the traditional stocks and shares.
Yeah. That dopamine rush when you get your first win, when you put in however much, £100, £10, £100, £1,000, and you see it go woof, and you think, oh my word, I've just gone from £1,000 profit to 10 grand. That feeling, or even just if you make 50 quid, that feeling, that dopamine rush in your brain that we're all addicted to with our mobile phones because we live on Facebook and we're constantly getting that dopamine filled. If we want to watch a film, we click Netflix and we've got it instantly back in the day. How old are you, Sam?
32.
Yeah,
coming up to 33.
Do you remember VHSs and blockbusters?
Yeah, definitely do, yeah.
Yeah. So back in the day, it was hard work to try and put a film on and try and find it, rewind it and all that. Now, everything is bosh. It's in you. We are saturated in dopamine rushes all the time. And I think when you get that initial win on crypto or trading and you think, oh my word, this is amazing because you got lucky. What that does is it hooks you in like a drug, and then it becomes like gambling. Because people say to me, trading is gambling. I'm like, you're correct, it is. If you don't know what you're doing and you don't know how to do your due diligence and your technical analysis. So The reason why people do it is because they become hooked on the thought that they could become a millionaire overnight. It never works. I can say this right now, it's not going to work unless you get extremely lucky, like winning the lottery. It takes a lot of hard work. So they say that 90% of traders or investors lose in trading, whether it be Forex, crypto, stocks and shares. Stocks and shares is a little bit more stable. Crypto is a little bit more volatile, and we like that because that's what makes us the money. But it's because most people just chuck their money into something and hope for the best because they're chasing that green candle, like what you just said. That feel of euphoric dopamine that's just hitting the right things in your brain. And then the deep, dark depression when it goes in the red and it falls back down because you got it wrong. 90% of traders get the direction of the market wrong, which means that most of them lose because what happens is it'll fall back in the red. And they won't wait, because the way trading works, if you're watching this on the video, you'll see, but if you're not, if you're watching this on, you listen to this on Spotify, I'm going to have to describe what I'm doing. The market pumps, the market pulls back, and it looks like a bit of a mountain, as it were. It pumps, it pulls back, it pumps, it pulls back. What happens is, it pumps, people get excited, they buy, it pulls back, they're in the red, they panic sell, it pumps, it goes in the green again, they buy at the high, it pulls back, they panic sell again. If you just held on to it, like you are with your stocks and shares, and let it rise, you'll be okay. But what most people do is they panic and then they give up, which is why 90% of traders lose. Whereas if you do get trained up, if you know what you're doing, because let's be real, the biggest secret to crypto trading and crypto investing or any kind of trading investing is knowing when to buy and knowing when to sell. Where to buy, where to sell, when to buy, when to sell. Two-part. If you can work out that, which you can with technical analysis, you've cracked it. You print money for a living because you're not going to buy where you shouldn't buy. 9 times out of 10 we'll get it right in the Trading Masters Academy, but you don't always get it right. If you know where and when to sell and where and when to buy, you pretty much nailed it. But that takes years of experience and really getting to know the chart. So I hope that answers your question and a few others that may be listening with that, because yeah, you're right. A lot of people do lose.
Yeah, it's a great answer and one that I didn't really expect. I genuinely did not know why, hence the question. And it's right. When you say that dopamine hit, that rush,
feels good.
I've never been a gambler. I have gambled, but a few quid here, a few quid there, and it's never done anything for me. But I know people that they have to bet on the football on a Saturday. They have to bet on the horses. And they must have that same dopamine hit that you're referring to with these people with the crypto.
Yeah. Totally. But gambling is betting on a horse that looks pretty healthy. It's got loads of muscle on it. It's won the past couple. And you're thinking, well, if it's had its Weetabix or whatever it eats in the morning, it should be all right today. Well, that is not trading. That's a myth. That's like this. The same way I will size up a chart is I will look for good support. What good support levels mean is the same thing as when you look at a house and you want to check to see if the foundations are correct. What do I mean by that? Well, you're looking at the foundations. Has it got subsidence? Subsidence is when a property starts to sink because the foundations are weak. The same can be said with crypto. We're looking for solid support. Support are high areas of interest where investors and participants in the market want to buy. Because that's the biggest thing. You've got to figure out where are the areas on this chart where people are most likely to buy. And if you do that, if you get a good confluence of levels together and find out that you've got several support levels in a particular area, we draw a box, we do around a load of support levels. We call it confluence of support. We will buy with the majority. We'll buy with the big boys. And that's what allows us then to know that we'll get a V reversal, which means the price will come down, hit the support, and then it will bounce up. We've all seen that on the charts. Same reason that you look for good support and good foundations in a property is the same way that we look at a chart, etc., and look for good support on there. And sometimes we have to wait a day or two. Sometimes you can't just go to the markets. You have to wait and be patient. And I think in the world that we live in, none of us want to be patient and chilled and disciplined anymore. We want things now, don't we? And it's like, I'll say this, trading and investing, it exposes who you really are as a person, I think. It exposes how disciplined you are. it exposes how patient you are, and it exposes a lot about your character. It sure did with me, and I thought I was rock solid. I survived cancer, so I'm rock solid, and my mindset's amazing. I'm like, no, kid, you're just getting started. Training really pulled my pants down and gave me a spanking and made me realise, no, mate, you've got so much to learn. You're too impulsive, you're too impatient, and that's what I teach my students now. Chill out.
Yeah, good point. And that's what I like so much about property, is the fact that even if you buy wrong, even if you make a mistake, you
Yeah,
overspend on the project, over time it
yeah,
will recover.
totally. It's a safe bet, isn't it? It always has been, bricks and mortar.
Yeah, you've just got to be prepared to stick it out a little bit longer than what
Yeah,
you might have imagined. You're not gonna become a millionaire in a month just because you buy a few properties or you put £1,000 into a coin. It doesn't work like that from my experience anyway.
no, totally. What was you like as a kid then?
I was a very sporty kid. I played football at a really good level. So I was up and down the country every weekend playing football, training 2 to 3 times a week. Um, Quite academic, not an amazingly confident child. Um, quite quite switched on, not entirely streetwise, but top sets for everything.
So you was the opposite of me. You're the neurotypical that can sit still and actually concentrate, and that's the contrast, isn't it? It's interesting.
Yeah, so two people chatting about money and life that are completely sort of different on the inside, but
Yeah.
ultimately sort of have the same goals and ambitions in life, just a different way of getting there.
hmm Yeah. Love that. Why didn't you go pro with the football then?
Wow, like everybody who doesn't make it, injury. So I broke my ankle, did ligament damage, had a couple of operations between the ages of 15 and 16. No, in fact, I broke it when I was 15, had the operations 16 and 17,
Mm.
and just couldn't get back to the same levels. There's people playing now that I played with that have played in the Prem, the Championship, America, and I bloody love them for it. Fantastic. Really, really proud of them. I won't name drop them on here, but yeah, really, really proud of what they've done.
Do you know that's a massive character trait in a positive way, where you can be happy for somebody, although you're not. You never got there yourself. Being able to sit back when all's said and done and say, "Well done, Ronaldo." We said we weren't going to name drop.
Yeah, if only, if only. But yeah, I think it's fucking fantastic
Mm.
that they've gone on and they'll be able to retire hopefully without having to work again. They would have hopefully invested their money correctly, bought up a load of property or put it into ISA stocks and shares and things, and maybe done the crypto things with yourself and created a future for themselves where they'll definitely have more time being retired than what they will have had working.
Well, it's funny how you say that you've got two people that are on the same kind of success and same mission, but have gone a different way about it. You just described yourself then. It's exactly what you've done anyway, isn't it? With the property and the investments and all that kind of stuff, and put yourself in a good place at 32.
Yeah, you've got to be sensible and yeah, plan for the long term future as opposed to the short term here and now.
So, who influenced you to do what you've done with your property development and your portfolio, etc.? I mean, because to go from that to all of a sudden being a kingpin in the property game, I mean, that sometimes something sways us to kind of focus on that area, doesn't it?
Yeah, so like you touched on with family, my father, big influence and role model in my life,
Amazing.
and as I grow up, the more I say to him and my mum that I'm grateful for the upbringing I had. Um, a lot of kids don't have the love and the attention and two dedicated parents, and I think having a good traditional family unit is great for
Yeah.
society. That nice traditional two parents, that love the kids and are actually interested in what they do.
Yeah.
There's too many parents now, in my opinion, that they're not interested in taking their kid to a certain sport to try, or to take them and try shooting or go-karting or a kickabout down the park, or just go for a dog walk. There isn't that interaction. They're more happy just engrossed in their phone than what they are trying to develop a child. At the end of the day, when you have a child, your job is to prepare them for adulthood, in my opinion.
Yeah.
And there's not enough of that. And I think having two dedicated parents, it's worth its weight in gold.
It's beautiful. You got kids yourself, Sam?
No, I haven't. Whether I do or not, I don't know. In the future, but we'll have to wait and see.
No,
But,
it's beautiful. Beautiful.
Yeah, life's pretty good, and I don't understand why everybody has to be so bloody miserable all the time. Like, even just find the little wins.
Yeah,
it's amazing. And back onto you. At what age did you become a millionaire?
30s for me. So I think, so I'm late 30s now, I'm 38. I think for me, you are finding yourself in your 20s, you're putting it to practice in your 30s, and hopefully, although I've seen a lot of people get this wrong, in your 40s, you can start to enjoy your hard work in your 30s, because I think your 30s is when you're actually putting into craft. You won't know, you're obviously 32 and you're in a lot better place than I was at that age. But yeah, being able to, it would have took a lot longer, I think, if it wasn't for crypto. I don't think I would have got there this soon from just property. I think crypto's been the key for me. It's not a get-rich-quick scheme, but it certainly enhanced what I was doing, a company and property, etc. But I'd like to think that now I'm going to have a less stressful 40s and a nice 50s, because we don't know when it's promised. I said to my wife, I want us to be able to have the choice to retire now. I'm approaching 40, serious 40, and then enjoy our time in our 40s, because you just don't know what's around the corner. So it's would you agree? I suppose looking at life in itself, obviously you're only 32 and you've made it quite well at a very young age, but would you say, from my experience looking at my friends and business owners now around me, do you think you truly know who you are? Most people in your 20s.
In your 20s you don't, in your 30s you don't, your 40s you don't. I see so many people that don't truly know who they are. Through their whole life.
Yeah.
Do I know who I am? What direction I want to go? Probably not truly. It's
life's a journey. I think to have achieved what you have at 32, though, I think that's pretty impressive. I think I wished I was where you was at 32.
Thank you.
Life is a journey, most definitely a journey, but I think from my perspective, being able to get to where I always said, well, one of my missions was to be mortgage free before I'm 40. And obviously I've managed that, but I've surpassed that. But it's like being able to understand that, we've worked hard, we've been through stuff. People say you deserve it, Si, because you've been ill. But I'm like, you know what? There's lots of people out there that have got problems and struggles that they've been through. It's just, I think what makes me different is I made a choice. Yes, I've had some rubbish thrown my way, and yes, life has been difficult at times, but how have I responded and what have I done about it? Not whinged and moaned. I've had times when I've whinged and moaned, don't get me wrong, and I've had times when I've cried, and I've had times when I've said, this is not fair. But the majority of the momentum of the time has got me off my backside, got me to a place where in my 30s still, thank goodness, I'm in a good place financially and with my relationships and my family, and I thank God for that.
Yeah. And talking of financially, what are your long-term financial goals? What do you see as your certain points that you've got to hit, or what you want to do with your money as life goes on?
You've got to be careful with this, because when is enough? So for me right now, if I continue to invest at the rate that I am, which is nice and relaxed now, a lot of it's passive because, don't get me wrong, I love the thrill of day trading. I will always love that because it feeds the dopamine, it feeds my personality, it's fast. No, let me rephrase this so it doesn't scare anybody. It can be fast, aggressive and exciting. It can be, whether you're scalping, quick in and out job a couple of times a day or day trading. But I've also got my long-term bags where I've just got money just sitting there growing. Now it's 2024 in December. Merry Christmas. But we've got different views on Christmas, haven't we, Sam?
Yeah, humbug.
I'm a big Christmas guy. But if I just keep like you said with property, same can be said with a lot of crypto coins. Not all of them. Some of them are spammy and scammy, etc. I agree. But the long-term coins that have got real purpose and utility is I've got money sitting in them. So that will continue to grow in capital appreciation as the years go on, because only 6 to 7% of people actually invest in cryptocurrency right now in the whole globe. So we're still in the early stages of crypto, the early adoption of crypto, which is exciting. And I see me being in crypto right now and got to the stage that I have where it's a bit like the baby boomers when they bought their house for £1,000 or £2,500, and now they're kind of rolling in it with the millions. You know, we all wish the houses were, we all wish we were a little bit older so we could have took advantage of that. Crypto's at the same stage now. So how much is enough? You know what? I've got enough. What's my goal? I'm very driven. Yeah, it's got to be multi 8 figures. That's more than enough for me. I'd say you only need 10 grand a month to live comfortably anyway, really. They say that 10 grand a month now is the old 3 grand a month, 10 years ago. And I could see what they're saying with the price of everything. So as long as we're living comfortably, we've got a nice house, we've got a smart motor. I mean, I'm a bit of a petrol head, got a smart motor. It's got heated seats and heated steering wheel, and we walk the dog most of the time in the countryside. So we're happy, mate. We're happy. So I haven't got any massive financial goals. Where I want to be, I want to be loved by my family. I want the opportunity to be able to bless them and treat them well. And I want to be able to help as many people as possible, if they're interested, become very successful in crypto trading. Because someone said to me the other day, that famous saying, those that can't teach and those that teach, whatever the saying is. And I'm like, no, I got to a stage in my trading journey. This is probably where you're at with the success you're at with property. And you get to the stage where you become successful, and it's a little bit lonely. You sat there in your underpants making money, or you do when you're trading that, and you think, all right, well, this is great. This is a real fulfilling life. That's when you realise that money's not everything. This is a real fulfilling life. I've got enough. What about everybody else? So being able to share, I run events, so I get rooms full of hundreds of people and stand on stage and just show them what is possible. And they go, I can't do that because I didn't have a great start in life. And then I get the cancer pictures up and I tell them that I was brought up in a council estate and I was severely ill, and here I am now, you're listening to me on stage. Nothing special about me. It's just I've got a platform now that I'm able to share that good news with people, and I just want to help people because it's fulfilling and it feels good. It feels better to give than it does to receive, I think, in terms of life and giving gifts, whether it be metaphorical, whether it be teaching, or obviously physical gifts. It just feels really good. So as long as I can do that over the next 10, 20 years, I'll be happy as Larry, mate, if I'm honest.
Happy days. Love it. Absolutely love it. And I'd love to know who Larry is and why he was so happy. I don't think anybody actually knows.
Very quick. I like your dry humour there.
And just one thing to finish off. If somebody wants to become a millionaire, what one piece of advice would you give them?
Consistency and discipline. And you say, Simon, that's the most unsexiest quote I've ever heard. But I thought that Rome could be built in a day. I thought that I could get to where I wanted to quicker. And the quicker that I've tried to force the process, the more mistakes I've made and the more disappointment that I've felt. Whereas if I would have understood that slow and steady wins the race and consistent action taken daily will always achieve results, man, I'd be a lot more further along, because you will actually achieve more quicker and you'll scale quicker in business, in entrepreneurship, in investment. You'll scale quicker if you take baby steps, but consistently do it, because Rome wasn't built in a day, and it does take time to build a business of worth. And yeah, consistency and discipline. Be true to yourself. Authenticity to throat. So I'd say consistency, discipline, and authenticity. Stop comparing yourself to other people. You're not on their journey. You don't know what hours that they put in. You don't know how hard they work. You don't even know if what they're showing on Facebook and Instagram is actually real. You stay in your own lane. Be authentic to who you are. Stay consistent, because consistent action taken daily will always achieve results. And be disciplined, and make sure that you're holding yourself to account, or find other people to hold you to account, to make sure that you are doing what you said you would do, which then leads nicely on to integrity. Integrity is doing what you said you'd do. And who are you? Are you the same person when you're on a stage or on Facebook than you are behind closed doors? If you can get all of those things right, which all kind of underpins character, you'll do well in whatever that you put your hand to, because you're going to stay driven and moving forward at a continual pace, which eventually will lead to results. So that's my version at the age of 38. Whatever it looks like in another 10 years, I'll give you a different answer, no doubt.
Yeah, I think that's an absolutely brilliant point to end on. Be consistently authentic, disciplined, and have what was the I?
Integrity.
Have integrity. Absolutely fantastic. So, really appreciate your time, Simon.
Pleasure.
Thank you very much.
Thanks for having me. Cheers, Sam.
Cheers.